This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
No, don't believe your lying eyes. I know you think you saw out-of-control rioting. You saw anarchists throwing bricks, throwing rocks, firing fireworks at cops, attacking people, burning cars, looting stores. That's not actually what you saw. If you watched ABC News in Los Angeles, what you heard, what you were told is that you saw people who were just having fun burning cars until, of course, the National Guard showed up as ordered by Donald Trump, which escalated the situation. Yes, they are doing it again. Once again, just like 5 years ago, they're telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. It's a peaceful protest, just people expressing their First Amendment rights. The media will never learn. They are avowed Democrats and they hate Trump and they support this. Yes, here's why this riot is like 2020 and not like the Los Angeles riots after the Rodney King incident, not like any riots we'd seen in this country before 2020. You have people destroying a city, just setting fires, hurting people, trying to do as much damage as they can do. And you have elected officials who are on the side of the rioters, elected Democrats who are siding with the anarchists, not with the cops, certainly not with the National Guard, not with law and order. They're on the side of the people setting fires in their city. That's I don't want to say unprecedented because that happened in 2020. You had a governor in Minnesota, a mayor of Minneapolis, who supported the people destroying the city. That's a dynamic that we'd never seen before George Floyd, where elected officials were okay with this. As you're watching on the screen, yes, this is a visual that will last forever. This will be in every Republican campaign ad in 2026 and 2028. A rioter, a violent rioter standing on a burnt, vandalized vehicle, probably a Waymo, and waving a Mexican flag. This is not just insane. This is not just out of control. It's incoherent. These are people waving flags of the country to which they really don't want to be sent back to. They're here from Mexico illegally, most of them, I'm going to guess, and they're waving the flag of the country from which they fled and to which they just don't want to return. That's what's going on in LA. It's absolute madness. But to me, the most insane part of it all is you have a governor, you have a mayor, you have a city councilman, you have a 86-year-old Maxine Waters attacking the cops, attacking the National Guard, and supporting the rioters, the criminals. That is how far the Democrat Party has fallen. You have a senator from Connecticut calling for more riots. Yes, Chris Murphy, we'll get to it, calling for more riots. But there's two things I have to start with because I watched a lot of coverage on Friday and Saturday and certainly yesterday, and I could not take my eyes off MSNBC and CNN last night because even when they tell you the truth, they do it like they're so disappointed that their side resorted to this. They are part of a cover-up. They are part of a big lie that this was peaceful, that this was just people out there upset at Trump's draconian immigration policy. Before we get to the ABC News reporter and the clip to cut that will be remembered forever, it is hard to believe that a reporter said this, but I want to read this. This stood out to me. You know what happened here. ICE moved into LA and started arresting illegal alien criminals. The worst of the worst, as they said. Tom Mahoman explained this. Pam Bondi explained this. LA is full of gang members, killers, rapists, drug dealers, just like Massachusetts, just like New York, but it's bigger and there's more of them. So it's a big job for ICE. So they move in Friday. They move into the neighborhoods. They start arresting illegal alien criminals. And then what happened? Then the supporters of the criminals, the people who believe in open borders, the people who are gaming the system. How many of those people waving Mexican flags are living in immigrant hotels and getting money for food and phones and translators and lawyers? They come here illegally. We give them everything. And this is how they repay us, by burning cars, attacking cops. So I was curious, like, who were they arresting on Friday? What set this all off? Well, they went in, arrested a bunch of illegal aliens, and I just went through the list. These are hardened criminals. Again, the worst of the worst. They weren't picking up, teenagers on their way to volleyball practice. Here's one, in case you were wondering. Among those arrested on Friday was 49-year-old Kung Phan, an illegal alien from Vietnam with a criminal history that includes a conviction of second-degree murder. Phan was convicted of shooting up a high school graduation party after a dispute, killing an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old and injuring 7 others. That's who they arrested on Friday. That's what triggered the mob. That's what started this whole insanity that broke out in LA, arresting a man convicted of killing 2 teenagers when he opened fire on a graduation party. Do any of these hooligans, these marauders, these invaders, do any of these rioters even care about that, even understand what ICE, Tom Homan, Donald Trump are trying to do? They are, again, trying to make these neighborhoods safe for law-abiding people, just like they did in Boston a couple of weeks in the month of May. And the mayor was upset, and the senators and the governor, and the Democrats. Every elected Democrat has blood on their hands. Everyone, because there's none who support law and order. There's none who actually support the police. They do not. You can see it. Maxine Waters is yelling at cops. An obese city councilwoman is saying it's time to escalate the attacks on cops. And again, let's get to it. An ABC News reporter, his name is Mark Brown, is reporting on the violence, on the rioting. I believe this was this morning. This is just incredible, unfathomable. Reporting on the riots, saying they were just people having fun burning cars when the cops and the National Guard came in and escalated the situation. Yes, this is real. Go ahead.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
Just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn, and the cops, the National Guard, are escalating the situation. Let's make one thing clear. There's no decent person, there's no law-abiding citizen who has a problem with cops moving in to arrest people committing arson, people burning the American flag and demanding they be allowed to stay here in America. Nobody watches that. Unless, of course, you're an elected Democrat. Then you watch that and you say, those are my people. Those are my guys. There's some reports about who's behind this. It's obviously an organized effort. Somebody's dropping off bricks for these people to throw. We've seen the video. There are organizations. I'll get to one.
Who that is.
There's one organization that got, I'll get the details. They got $34 million from the federal government. We are financing this chaos. The taxpayers. That's what the whole USAID thing with Musk and Doge is all about. They take our tax money and they fund these actions against us. That's what's happening, and that's what has to end. Yeah, there's a whole report from Data Republican. She's I believe it's a woman on Twitter. She's a great account, and she has documented who's paying for this and going through all the organizations. And most of them get money from us. The one paying, she's got a whole thread from this organization. And you say, yeah, 34 million. It's called Churla. Churla is the organization that is paying for this, one of the organizations. And they get $34 million from us. We're paying for anarchists to attack cops. We're funding this madness. If you haven't seen this video, and if you just, I'll describe it. This is a bunch of cop cars parked under a bridge. Watch that right there. Show that again. And they are pelting the cop cars with bricks and scooters. Boom, right there. A brick hits the windshield of a moving cruiser. A cop is driving down the highway in the cruiser, and he gets a brick on the windshield. Now, let me ask this serious question. What would be the problem with shooting that person? Why would that not be justified? They are attempting to murder an LA cop right there. He's driving. They hit direct hit on the windshield. The other cruisers, I believe, are not occupied. It's bad. That one on the left of the top gets a scooter, one of those little scooters, electric scooters. I think they're called Lime scooters in LA. Someone takes the scooter right there and hits the windshield of the cruiser. If there's a cop in there, he's dead. If that cop who was driving the cruiser, who takes a brick to the windshield, is lucky to be alive. It's all on video. They've put out a reward for information leading to the arrest of that person, $50,000. You could see the person. It's on video. Hopefully, one of his neighbors rats him out and cashes in. But why is that not attempted murder? And why is it not justified to shoot that person? Oh, it might escalate the situation. Here's why we have this problem. Because we didn't stop them in 2020. Because we didn't hold them accountable. There were more than 500 riots, beginning in Minneapolis, but spreading around the country. And most of the people responsible paid no price. They looted stores. They committed arson, assault, insurrection, and they paid no price. Charges were dropped. The Biden administration did not hold them accountable, and they think it's going to happen again. And if Trump didn't send in the National Guard, there would be no price to pay. They wouldn't catch these people. They would just look the other way. They would just excuse it. They would say it's peaceful. They would say they're expressing their First Amendment rights. I think it's time. I think it's past time that they are held accountable. Every one of them has to be arrested, deported if they're here legally, or sent to prison for a long time. Yes, kind of like what happened to the January 6th protesters. That was an insurrection, but this isn't. They were waving American flags on January 6th. On June 8th and 9th, they were burning American flags. And they were getting supported by elected Democrats. No Republican supported what happened on January 6th. Many of them said the rioters were overpunished. Maybe many of them demanded that they move their trials or be given different lawyers. It was a big deal, but no elected Republican said that's great. It's just a peaceful protest. That's what you hear from Democrats after watching this all weekend. Peaceful protest, just people enjoying watching cars burn. You have the mayor, Karen Bass, who's blaming Trump. You have Gavin Newsom, the governor, who is literally blaming Trump for what? For what? Arresting a guy who killed a couple of teenagers? For employing the National Guard? He hadn't done that yet. Obviously, he should do that. Obviously, this warrants the National Guard, but the president hadn't done it yet when Newsom was blaming Trump. Newsom, the governor who supports these people over law enforcement. And the LAPD is frustrated. They're not allowed to do their job. It was an amazing moment last night, late last night. It was like midnight, East Coast time, when Jim O'Donnell, the police chief of Los Angeles, and you know he earned this position because he's an old white guy from Boston, and he held a press conference, no notes, no script, and he said they were overwhelmed. And he welcomed the National Guard, this in direct defiance of the governor who is demanding Trump call off the National Guard. The police chief wants them. The police chief needs them. You think the law-abiding citizens in LA, you don't think they want the National Guard? Of course they do. The only ones who don't want the National Guard, who don't want them in there arresting these rioters are Democrats, elected Democrats. Again, first time in the history of this country that an entire party supports anarchists who are burning our flags, burning cars, looting stores, trying to free criminals, literally surrounding the detention center and demanding the release of people like Quang Phan, who murdered 2 teenagers. That's where we are right now. All right, we got so much to get to. Again, it's hard to believe you have actual news reporters who lived through 2020, who lived through the lies they told us about George Floyd, who overdosed in police custody while resisting arrest, who justified, who rationalized the damage, the rioting, the $2 billion worth of damage these rioters did. These people were there in 2020. And again, they're doing it again in 2025. They're telling you what you're seeing is peaceful. What you're seeing is just Americans expressing their First Amendment rights. They are lying to you. And it's like they don't even understand that we got video, that we have eyes. The length they will go, the depth they will sink to fight Trump and support the resistance, the Democrats, is breathtaking. They will not tell you the truth. These are alleged journalists. Here is CNN, and if you're watching along, you could see the fires. You could see the rioting. But here's how a CNN reporter told it yesterday.
This has been very peaceful, Brian. It has been tense at some points, but we haven't seen any violence happening here. What people are saying is that they don't think ICE belongs in Los Angeles, that they want ICE out of the city.
Very peaceful, and they have a split screen with rioting. And they actually are doing it again. It's just mind-blowing how dishonest these liars, these let's get to Newsom. Newsom did this long interview with MSNBC late last night, and he is just shameless, blaming Trump before Trump did anything other than allow ICE to do its job, which is what Americans want, which is what Americans voted for, which they still support despite the lies, the gaslighting from the media. A poll came out over the weekend saying Americans overwhelmingly support the Trump administration's effort to get these people out. Doesn't matter to Newsom. He wants to protect illegal aliens who kill teenagers. That's what he wants to do. He wants to protect MS-13 and Kilmar Abrego Garcia types. That's who he's here to defend, not law-abiding citizens, not the store owners who are watching their stores get looted by these anarchists. Here he is last night, and this was an amazing interview. It's all about Trump, not the rioters, not the people stoking the flames, setting the fires. It's all about Trump to this absolute narcissist. Go ahead.
Max has been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn, but I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
The perception is there's a lot of...
Let's go. He challenges Tom Homan to arrest him. Here, we're going to get to Homan, but I can't stand this. The fear. So they're saying Donald Trump instills fear in the community. Can you get that iconic shot of the guy on the car with the Mexican flag? Democrats want you to believe Trump and Tom Homan and ICE are instilling fear. Tell me, does this guy look fearful? Do the people around him, do they look like they have fear in their hearts? Are they worried about Holman coming after them? They're the ones instilling the fear, spreading the fear. They're not fearful. They're brazen. They feel enabled. Hell, somebody's paying them. Someone's supplying them with flags and signs and bricks. They're not fearful at all. That is not a group of people who are afraid of the fact they should be. Maybe they will be when the National Guard, maybe the Marines rolls in there. But right now, the fear is people who is with American citizens, store owners, and people whose neighborhoods have been overrun by gangs and criminals. The fear, oh God, I can't stand that. Get Tom Holman, who did call out Newsom, greasy Gavin, for enabling this in his city, in his state. Here's the great America's heartthrob, Tom Holman. Good.
I'd love to get your response to Governor Newsom saying, essentially, that your actions here are provocative, and the quote that he used was sowing chaos.
So Governor Newsom's an embarrassment for the state. But, he's the one that's feeding this mantra. He supports sanctuary cities. He supports sanctuary laws. If he cared about public safety in the state of California, he would not have a sanctuary for criminals, where criminals get released to the streets of this state every day because of his policy.
It is amazing when you think about it. A lot of the Democrats blame Trump. I don't know why. I mean, again, we voted for this. We want ICE to go in there and get murderers and gang members. We want this. Everyone wants this. Every decent person wants this. There's no fear for law-abiding citizens. But I heard a lot of people blame, I certainly blame Newsom, Karen Bass, the communist mayor. You blame the left-wing NGOs. You blame Alex Soros and others who are funding this. But you know who is most to blame? And we don't talk about this enough. The man to blame is Joe Biden. The people to blame are the Biden administration, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, and every elected Democrats who supported open borders. This is not something that's been going on for 20 years. 20 years ago, Bill Clinton was against illegal immigration. Hillary Clinton spoke out against it. Chuck Schumer used to call them illegal aliens and say we must not allow them to come into our country. Barack Obama was the deporter in chief. He deported 5 million. Most of whom didn't get due process. Democrats made a decision at some point, and maybe someday, some way, we'll find out exactly when. It certainly was before Biden. And they said, we need a new strategy. We need a new demographic. We need to import voters. And they opened the border. This didn't happen 20, 30, 50 years ago. It happened in the last 10 years, and it certainly happened under Joe Biden, where they imported 15, 20, 25 million illegals. They didn't vet them. They didn't care if they were criminals or gang members. They had face tattoos. They did this. Joe Biden is a traitor to this country. Joe Biden committed treason. What's going on in LA is the fault of a lot of people, but he is at the top of the list. Now, Trump gives him a pass and says he was, incapacitated, and others were operating the auto pen and opening the borders. Maybe he's right. Maybe we'll find out when they have these hearings who exactly made the call to open the border. But what they did was not let in people who were just looking to make a living and support their family. They let in criminals, gang members, people who were burning cars and waving the Mexican flag. They were let into this country on purpose, deliberately, as a matter of policy by Democrats. And for some reason, they can't let it go. They want to continue. Get Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy is a despicable, loathsome creature from Connecticut, a senator who is, rumor has it, thinking of making a run for president. How anyone could ever think of this unctuous slimeball as a potential president is beyond me. But he goes on, I think this morning, with MSNBC, and says, we need more of this. Yes, an elected Democrat senator, while watching the rioting, watching what they're doing in Los Angeles, says, we need more of this. Go ahead.
I mean, my first message is to keep it peaceful. I mean, obviously, this is a moment where we have to be on the streets all over the country to protest what's happening to our immigrant community, but more broadly to protest what's happening to our democracy. This is the most corrupt administration in the history of the country, and we are going to rise to this moment by being out there on the streets. But ultimately, I think the country sees what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's looking for a fight. There's nothing in what he is doing that is about peace or about restoring order. He's taking a protest that is relatively isolated. People in Los Angeles over the weekend would tell you that 99% of them went about their day, and it was pretty normal because this is not an invasion that has taken over the entire city. And he's trying to turn a protest that is pretty small into something that involves an even bigger confrontation so that he might actually be able to invoke the Insurrection Act. That would be a defining story of the week if he were to do it. And I just don't think, I think we have to make sure that we understand to not take him at his word. He's looking for a fight. He's not trying to calm tensions.
Looking for a fight by sending in the National Guard to arrest people and stop the rioting. Just remarkable. And he wants more of it. We need more of it. The gaslighting just was nonstop from Democrats. I did not see one that unequivocally condemned the rioting. Not one senator, not one potential presidential candidate. Get Kamala Harris's statement. She came out of hiding and released a statement that somebody else wrote for her. Obviously, she didn't come out and talk because she's incapable. But she literally says it was, let me get it straight, the protests are, quote, overwhelmingly peaceful. That's the former vice president. That's a woman with blood on her hands who was part of the administration that let these people in. And she watched what happened Saturday, Sunday, last night, and said, overwhelmingly peaceful. Does that look overwhelmingly peaceful to anybody? Does what you're seeing happening in LA overwhelmingly peaceful? And then we have local politicians. We had Maxine Waters, this miserable old hag, trying to force her way into the ICE detention facility and then berating cops, telling them that they should walk away, they should quit and walk away. Cops who are there to protect people and businesses, and a congresswoman is berating them to their faces. And then you have the morbidly obese city councilor. This is an elected official, and she's there at the protest, not saying, calm down, people. Let's not get violent. Let's not throw rocks. Let's not hurt cops. Let's not burn our city. She's saying we need to escalate. She's part of the protest. Again, an elected official. Maybe I don't know my history. I don't remember this happening before 2020. I don't remember a day where an entire political party was on the side of the anarchists, was on the side of the rioters who were ripping apart the city she's supposed to represent. Listen to this portly woman. Go ahead.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics, because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we got to show up even stronger.
That is Eunice Hernandez, elected Democrat, saying when they escalate their tactics, that's what we have to do. Calling for more violence. That's what they're doing. Let's not kid ourselves. They're calling for more violence, more destruction, more fires, and they're going to get it. If you're in a city like LA and you know the people in charge are on your side, why not throw a brick? Why not set a fire? If you know the media is going to say, oh, we're just having fun, they were calling Waymos, the driverless cars, they were calling them, and when they showed up, they were setting them on fire. And I believe the number the police chief, Jim O'Donnell, gave was 10 arrests. It's probably gone up. 10 arrests. If you've seen the video, it looks like there should be thousands of arrests. There was, I think, 30 arrests on Saturday and 10 arrests on Sunday. They're not holding them accountable, which means it'll only get worse. It'll only escalate. And that's what, and they were wearing, many of them wearing keffiyehs, some of them were wearing Hamas armbands and screaming Allahu Akbar at the cops. That's on Joe Biden. That's on the Democrats who let this rabble into our country. All right, speaking of rabble, we got to get to this Terry Moran story. We talk a lot about media bias. Well, it has never been on display quite like it was late Saturday night when Terry Moran, ABC reporter, alleged journalist, a man who sat down with Donald Trump for a one-on-one interview in the White House a little more than a month ago, just went off on Twitter, and it may cost him his job. It should cost him his job. We'll get to that, and the Riley Gaines, Simone Bias dust up over the weekend, which was fun. I love being on the side of Riley Gaines. I like to be on the side of the girls and science and truth. It is such a losing argument when people defend boys and girls sports. They got nothing. It is just so easy to prove them wrong and embarrass them. And that's what Riley Gaines did to Simone Biles. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
If you've ever searched for your name or address on Google, it's shocking to find how many results have your personal information, and it's not by chance. Data brokers and people search sites, collect your personal information, your name, address, phone number, financial info, income, and hundreds of other records. They sell it and share it publicly without your consent. But Incogni is here to put an end to that. It hunts down these unethical sites and gets your info removed from the places that expose your private information. You don't have to email anyone, fill out forms, or jump through hoops. They handle the entire process for you. Incogni is also continually monitoring if your data is put back into these databases, requesting repeated removals. This way, it keeps them off there forever. So you get fewer spam calls, spam emails, and you get more peace of mind. And best of all, you can cancel anytime, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can get it completely risk-free. Right now, you get 60% off an annual plan by going to incogni.com and use code word Callahan. That's incogni, incogni.com/Callahan, and use the code word Callahan at checkout. You get 60% off and protect your data for an entire year. If you don't know who Terry Moran is, don't feel bad, because Donald Trump didn't know who he was. Trump decided to sit down in the Oval Office for a one-on-one interview. It was very contentious. Obviously, Moran is a devout leftist, hates Trump. He's been around for a while. You've probably seen him, but he hasn't really made a name for himself. I don't know why Trump picked him. He said he picked him because he didn't know who he was, and he didn't want to sit down, certainly with George Stephanopoulos or Margaret Brennan or the rest of the Democrats with press passes, but he sat down with them anyway in the White House, and it didn't go well. But then it was over. It was typical Trump with a fake news reporter, a little contentious, little battle. Get the tweet up first. I've seen Terry Moran around for, I don't know, 25 years. I never knew much about him, never cared much about him. Well, he hit it good. He hit it well, I should say. This is such a perfect example of what we're dealing with in the mainstream media. He pretends to be a reporter. He pretends to be a journalist. And for a while, he pulled it off. This was the ultimate mask off moment. And don't kid yourself. Almost all of the reporters at ABC, CBS, CNN, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, almost all of them think the same way as this smarmy weasel at ABC. So I'm guessing Terry Moran had a couple of, I don't know what probably Cosmopolitans. What do you think Terry Moran drinks? Just look at him. Maybe Chardonnay.
Definitely Zima.
Does Zima still exist?
I think so. I think it does.
He had Zima, and, he got a little buzz on, though he started probably doing, I don't know, peppermint schnapps or something, and got really jiggy. And he posts
anything with an umbrella in it, really.
Yeah, he posts this. He was probably at a party, like it's in Georgetown or maybe in Manhattan, and just got a little crazy. Did some really, expensive tequila. But he said, I think this is midnight. Is that what the time stamp is? Midnight? He says that he writes about Stephen Miller and Trump. He writes, the thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he's one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translate them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller. It's not his brains, it's bile. What? Miller is a man who is strictly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him. So a reporter could see what a man is just by looking at him. Gotcha. He's a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. Man, was he hammered. All right. And then he writes, Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only a means to an end. Hatred only a means to an end. And that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. That was written by an ABC News reporter on Saturday night, that Trump and Stephen Miller are world-class haters, but his hatred only means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. He got up in the morning, I'm guessing a little groggy, maybe a little pounding in his head, and deleted the tweet. It, of course, had gone viral. This is a guy who sat with the president. I don't think he's going to get another sit down with Trump. The first one didn't go well, but the Secret Service can't allow it. This is a lunatic. This is an unhinged lunatic who only told the truth because it was midnight on Saturday night. I'm guessing he and Steffi and all the rest of the people at ABC News feel the same way. This is how they feel about Donald Trump. This is just derangement syndrome on another level. And if that were, I don't know, Joy Reid or Joy Behar or some Whoopi or some crazy, it's Keith Olbermann, that's one thing. This is a guy who went to the White House pretending to be a journalist. Here's just a clip from his interview with Trump, which was 6 weeks ago. Listen to this.
He wants peace. You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
and
happy.
Then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No.
And then that's when he said, I don't even know who you are. Terry Moran, who's been around for decades. Here's the latest breaking news. ABC News suspended its senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, after he called White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller a world-class hater. This is from Variety magazine. I don't think that's the lead. I think the fact that he called Trump that is the lead. This is a statement from ABC. ABC stands for objectivity and impartiality. Oh, excuse me while I try to get through this statement from ABC News, which, by the way, the head of ABC News is George Stephanopoulos, the biggest Trump hater of all. It says, quote, ABC News stands for objectivity and impartiality in its news coverage. It does not condone subjective personal attacks on others. The statement says, the Post does not reflect the views of ABC News and violated our standards. As a result, Terry Moran has been suspended pending further evaluation. You know what? Terry Moran has to be fired. And this isn't cancel culture. It's not, a violation of the First Amendment. He's not going to be arrested. He's not going to jail. But he's been lying to the public for 30 years. He's been lying. He's been pretending to be an objective journalist, pretending to be a newsman, a reporter, and that drunken post proved that he's anything but. So how can he go back to work as a reporter when we now know he's not? How can we go back to work and think that he's actually doing journalism? A number of people, Megyn Kelly and others, say he has to be fired. And of course, there are people saying, oh yeah, cancel. No, he's not. This wasn't a Democrat politician, or again, a crazy, Keith Oldman type, or even an opinion person. This is supposed to be an objective reporter. So we know he's not. We know he's been lying. So we have to move on. He doesn't have to go to prison, but he has to be fired. There's no choice. You can't bring him back and say, he just slipped up. He had a few drinks, but he's going to be objective now. Trump's still the president. Stephen Miller is still his advisor. He can't cover them objectively after we saw that, after he deleted the tweets. Speaking of deleted tweets, good sign on the Trump-Musk feud. Musk deleted his tweets about the Epstein files and about, there were a couple he deleted, which doesn't matter. Obviously, we've seen them. They've been screenshotted, but it does show that he softened. And yesterday, Musk tweeted retweeted a bunch of accounts with American flags and supported Trump's actions in LA. So that's a good sign. Musk is probably going to admit he went overboard at some point, as well he should. All right, we're going to get to another of my favorite stories of the weekend. Riley Gaines and Simone Biles had a feud. Of course, it's about boys and girls sports. I think it was on the heels of the boy in Minnesota who won the state championship, pitched 35 innings, and just dominated the girls. It's what boys do often when they play girls sports, and this boy kicked ass, and the coach was celebrating it, and they were pretending it was all, on the level and fair. It was anything but. The team he was on was not going to win the state championship until he decided he was a girl and was going to play sports. Anyway, there was a lot of righteous outrage about that, and Riley Gaines obviously leading the charge. So Simone Biles tweets at Riley Gaines. Simone Biles, the gymnast, great gymnast, best known for quitting on her team in the Olympics. She writes, Riley Gaines, you're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Truly sick. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. I'm so sick of this. This is so stupid, so lame. Of course, Simone Biles is an idiot. You don't need a trans category. First of all, he's a softball player. You think you're going to find enough trans guys who pretend to be girls to field a team? It's not going to happen. What sport would you have enough trans athletes to form a whole league? You wouldn't. Secondly, they can already play sports. He should be playing baseball. He's a boy. Boys play baseball. Leah Thomas swam against men. He decided one day he was a girl because he wanted to kick ass and break records, so he joined the girls' team. That should not be allowed. He should stay with the men. Every kid can play sports. They just have to play with the people of their same sex. That's all. We don't need to accommodate them with their own league or their own rules like California did with the track. Say, the girls that he beat, they can still go on the medal stand. No, I got a simpler solution. Kick him off the medal stand. Anyway, Riley Gaines fired back, as did just about everybody, pointing out that she couldn't beat a man. She tried to do the same routine as a man on the floor. She couldn't do pommel horse like a man. If she had to go against men, she'd get her ass kicked. Riley, you don't want to mess with Riley. And she tweeted that all the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against, caused by one man, that'd be Larry Nassar, yet she still believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusive dream came true? 0, which is true. She knows she couldn't beat men. And by the way, Riley Gaines didn't lose. She tied Leah Thomas. And of course, the woke people in the NCAA gave the fifth place spot to Leah Thomas, who also won and broke NCAA records pretending to be a woman. And here's what I love about this is when you actually debate, when there's an actual debate like there was with essentially with Biles and Gaines, they can't make a case for this. There is no case for this. Oh, can't you respect the trans community? That's just gobbledygook. The fact is, everybody knows sports are supposed to be fair. You can't have a 18-year-old guy playing Little League because he thinks he wants to identify as a 12-year-old. That wouldn't be fair. So this isn't fair, and everybody knows it. So Democrats who are normally concerned about fairness just abandon all their principles and make this incoherent argument saying, you're hurting his feelings. Well, what about all the girls who competed in Minnesota for the state championship in softball? Do you think their feelings were hurt when they got struck out by a boy? When the boy took the state title from a girls' team? What about their feelings? When did Democrats just stop caring about girls and women? There's been so many posts like this. That's true. Simone Biles accused Riley Gaines of looking like a man, that she should pick on someone her own size, which would be a man, which is obviously just stupid. Think of that. She's trying to make an argument for men and women's sports, allowing them. And she points out that Riley Gaines, if she's competing against someone her own size, would compete against a man. So she's admitting men have an advantage while trying to make the case that men really don't have an advantage. Here's a tweet from Danielle D'Souza Gill, the wife of Brandon Gill. She says, in 2018, Simone Biles revealed she, quote, wore sweaters or jackets all year long due to being bullied for her muscles. Last night, she attacked Riley Gaines, claiming Riley looks like a man. When the left says they support women, no, it only applies to women who fall in line. Look at those two. Who looks more like a man? I mean, I don't think either of them really looks like a man, but Riley Gaines does not look like a man. Simone Biles looks like a what are the little guys in Wizard of Oz? Oompa Loompas?
The Munchkins?
The Munchkins. Yeah, Oompa Loompas are in Charlie and Willy Wonka, but actually she's ripped. She's not fat, but she is tiny. And it's just so silly and so insane. Did you see the USA Today headline on this woman at USA Today? I'll see if I can find it. She's a total lunatic. Her name is Nancy Armour, just a total left-wing loon. And she wrote this, and she literally, I'm going to find it because it's just so amazing, that somebody, this again is an alleged journalist, and she did a whole column on how men don't have an advantage over women. And I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you fill, 800 words, making a completely convoluted, incoherent, illogical case. And they're still doing it. I mean, this was and not a lot of people read USA Today anymore, but I'm gonna find it, and I'm also gonna get you the attempt by Simone Biles to here it is. This is a real paragraph by a real writer, sort of, at USA Today. She writes, there is no scientific evidence that transgender women athletes have a physical advantage over cisgender women athletes. Cisgender. But that hasn't stopped Riley Gaines from claiming they do. She insists they are robbing cisgender women of places at the podium, and she doesn't care if it's a 12 or a 22-year-old that she's putting in harm's way in this overheated climate where ignorance and violence are celebrated equally. So it's ignorant to say men have an advantage over women. And this woman writes, there's no scientific evidence that men have a physical advantage over women. That was printed. That was written, edited, published by USA Today. And immediately people started tweeting video of men just kicking ass, and, the boxer and the Olympics beating the crap out of women, and the men just dominating women in basketball and volleyball. No evidence, says, this made me laugh too. I'm sending you the video of Simone Biles attempting to do a gymnastics routine that a man can do, that another man who's not a celebrated gymnast who doesn't have millions of dollars and fly around on private jets like Simone Biles, because he didn't win the gold at the Olympics. He's not a celebrated gymnast, even though he's better than Simone Biles. It is just such a silly, incoherent, ignorant argument, but they're sticking to it. Here she is, Simone Biles versus an unnamed men's gymnast. Go ahead. Man. Surprise. Not so easy, is it, Simone? Can't do it. She can't do what the man can do, but she doesn't have to worry that the man is going to join her sport and dominate her, so she doesn't care. But all right, before we go, I just want to say how much I love this story. Initially, I thought it was stupid bringing Kilmar Abrego Garcia back, but they're bringing him back. They brought him back Friday. Democrats wanted him to come back, and now they got their wish. He's coming back to face human trafficking charges. His lawyers are all upset, saying Abrego, this is from WTOP in Tennessee, where he's facing charges. Garcia was returned to the U.S. to face criminal charges related to what the Trump administration said was a large human smuggling operation that helped transport immigrants who were in the U.S. illegally. Pam Bondi announced the unsealing of the grand jury indictment. The Assistant Attorney General filed a motion in federal court saying the U.S. had complied with the court's order and had successfully facilitated Abrego Garcia's return, and he's coming back. He's facing Abrego Garcia, who lived for 14 years illegally in this country. They're saying he not only trafficked those people we saw in Tennessee in his car, adults, he trafficked children, and he participated in the murder of a rival gang member's mother. So that's the guy Democrats call the Maryland Dad. That's the guy they demanded be returned, a guy who was human trafficking for years and was involved in a murder and beat his wife and belongs to MS-13. And now he's going to face charges, and it's all going to be documented in court. And Chris Van Hollen, I don't know if he'll be there. He's right now, he's looking into conjugal visits so he can go visit him. But man, what a miscalculation by the Democrats on going all in on the Maryland Dad. All right, there. Look at the fear in that photo. I mean, I can't believe that Tom Homan and Donald Trump have instilled such fear in the immigrant community. Look at these poor immigrants who just looking for a better life and just wanted to live the American dream. Trump is so cruel, isn't he? Homan is just so cruel, picking on the vulnerable, the marginalized in our community. These poor fellas, can't they just let them be, just live their lives, waving the Mexican flag and burning the American flag and demanding they get to stay here and not be sent there. There's the newest Democrat hero right there, the newest Democrat martyr, fighting the good fight against the American people. But all right, we'll leave it there on this wild Monday morning. Man, I'm going to get back to watching rioting. It's like not my favorite sport. Football is probably my favorite, but watching the National Guard move in and just start rounding up these reprobates, this rabble, I am going to enjoy that thoroughly. Let's hope for thousands of arrests. Get on it, Tom Homan. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and alter.